Have you ever felt like your heart was caught in a game of hide and seek? Sarah wondered as she stood in front of her closet, staring at the jumble of clothes that reflected snippets of her life. She could almost hear the echoes of laughter from her childhood mingling with the distant sound of Jake's voice. The irony of their situation wasn't lost on her. As step-siblings, they were expected to maintain a platonic bond, but they were teetering on the edge of something deeper. Grabbing a faded sweater that she used to wear during family movie nights, Sarah felt a pang of nostalgia. Jake had always sat close to her, their arms brushing together, electric pulses of warmth and understanding exchanged in silence. But now that closeness was wrapped in an indecipherable tension. "Should I even bring this?" she muttered, holding the sweater up like a judge deliberating a verdict. Just then, her phone buzzed on the bed, breaking her reverie. It was a message from Jake. "We need to talk about the weekend trip. Bring your favorite bag. There's something for you." Her stomach twisted with anticipation and unease. What could he possibly mean by that? Over the years, their bond had evolved into an intricate weave of friendship and rivalry, moments of tenderness contrasting harshly with playful jabs. As she scrolled through earlier messages, each one tugged at threads of emotion that she tried desperately to keep at bay. With a heavy sigh, she set the phone aside and turned back to the task at hand. Packing for their trip to the lake should have been straightforward, but her mind was anything but clear. She grabbed her favorite casual dress, the one that hugged her figure just right, and tossed it on top of the pile. Below that went her swimwear, colorful and enticing. But that note, what if it was something significant? The endless possibilities swirled around in her thoughts, creating a maelstrom she couldn't escape. Jake had an uncanny way of making everything feel both exhilarating and terrifying. Their last encounter had left her breathless. She often replayed that moment in her mind. They had been watching the stars, a blanket draped over them, the air charged with unspoken words. "Hey, Sarah?" Jake's voice had broken through the silence, making her heart skip a beat. "Yeah?" she had replied, turning to face him. But the moment had slipped away, buried beneath the weight of their routine. And now, this message lingered in her mind like a spark waiting for a kindling. Pushing that thought aside, she picked up her colorful tote bag and began to arrange her carefully selected items. She took a moment to admire the collection of quirky pins she had adorned it with, each a testament to moments spent together. Adventures, laughter, and even tears. As she zipped up the bag, her fingers brushed against something unfamiliar, an envelope. Intrigued, she pulled it out, recognizing Jake's handwriting immediately. The bold letters spelling her name sent a shiver down her spine. What was he doing writing her a note, especially with the trip ahead? Sarah quickly opened the envelope, her heart racing. Inside was a slip of paper folded neatly. She could feel her pulse quickening as she unfolded it, revealing a message that read, "I need to tell you something important. We'll talk at the lake." Her mind reeled. Was this about their relationship, the friendship they shared, or possibly something more? She felt a flurry of butterflies take flight in her stomach. The uncertainty of Jake's intentions loomed over her, both thrilling and terrifying at the same time. The weekend arrived, and the drive to the lake was filled with a comfortable silence peppered with intermittent laughter. Sarah glanced over at Jake as he drove, his eyes focused on the road while a soft smile played on his lips. He seemed lost in thought, and Sarah found herself studying him, the way his hair fell over his forehead, how his fingers tapped lightly on the steering wheel with the rhythm of an unheard tune. "Are you excited for this?" Jake suddenly asked, breaking the silence. "Of course. The lake always holds the best memories for us," she replied, forcing a smile despite her swirling thoughts. As they arrived, the shimmering water glistened under the sun, beckoning them for a day of exploration. They set up their picnic by the shore, and as Sarah laid out the blanket, she couldn't shake the feeling that their time together was about to shift. The sun began its slow descent, casting golden hues across the lake. The air was filled with an intoxicating blend of freshly cut grass and the sweet smell of summer. Jake threw a pebble into the water, causing ripples to stretch across the surface. "Hey, Sarah," he called out, his voice steady yet filled with a hint of nervous energy. "Remember that time we tried to build a raft out of those old logs?" Her heart fluttered at the memory. "How could I forget? We ended up drenched and laughing so hard I thought I'd burst." They shared a laugh, but Sarah's gaze lingered on Jake. His eyes glistened with mischief, but there was something more there, a depth she wasn't quite sure how to read. He had always been the adventurous one, but there was a vulnerability in this moment that made her curious. "Do you think we've changed since then?" he asked suddenly, each word hanging in the air between them. "Of course we have," she replied, her heart racing. "But does change always mean it's bad?" Jake turned to her, his expression serious. "I guess it depends on how we choose to redefine our relationship." His statement hung in the air like a thick fog, enveloping the warmth of their shared laughter. Sarah felt a weight settling on her chest, the urge to speak colliding with her fear of breaking the fragile equilibrium they had created. "Jake? But just then, a splash interrupted her thoughts. They both jumped as a little boy, completely. Unaware, ran past them and leaped into the water. They burst into laughter, but for Sarah, the moment was merely a distraction. The question lingered in her mind, swirling with the remnants of the note and the weight of unspoken emotions. As the sky darkened into shades of violet, Jake leaned back on the blanket, an aura of contemplation surrounding him. She studied him, intently, the way his brow furrowed slightly as if he was wrestling with something inside him. "Sarah, about that note," he began, hesitant. Her heart pounded in her chest, and the air felt charged with anticipation. "Yeah?" she replied, trying to keep her voice steady. "I just want you to know that whatever happens, we can always figure things out together, no matter where life takes us." His statement resonated deeply, stirring up a storm of feelings. Was he trying to say they could explore their bond at a deeper level, or was he merely reassuring her of their friendship? As the last rays of sunlight dipped below the horizon, Sarah felt caught in an emotional whirlwind. She needed to tread carefully. One misstep could shatter the delicate tapestry they had woven together. "Jake, I appreciate everything you've said, but—" She hesitated, her mind racing with what she wanted to convey. He looked at her intently, waiting for her to finish. In that moment, as the darkness settled in around them, the uncertainty about their next steps only heightened the connection that had always simmered beneath the surface. Was she ready to explore what lay beyond their current friendship? Would that render everything they had shared in the past imperfect? But as stars began to dot the night sky, a sense of anticipation flooded her heart. Sarah realized that whatever choice lay ahead, it was a journey worth taking just as long as they did it together. The unexpected gift, the morning sun peeked through the curtains, casting dappled light across the cabin's cozy interior. Sarah stretched, her mind still swirling with memories of the previous evening. She replayed every moment, each word exchanged leaving an indelible mark on her heart. What had Jake meant by that note? As she swung her legs over the side of the bed, she felt a sense of anticipation fluttering in her stomach. She couldn't shake the feeling that this trip was going to change everything. Throwing on a comfy t-shirt and shorts, she made her way to the small kitchen where Jake was already pouring coffee. "Good morning, sleepyhead," he greeted her, flashing a grin that widened the butterflies in her stomach. "Morning. I slept like a log," she replied, taking a seat at the table. The smell of freshly brewed coffee filled the air, creating a warm, inviting atmosphere. Jake set a steaming mug before her, his eyes gleaming with mischief. "Ready for some adventure today? I came up with a plan." Her heart quickened at the excitement in his voice. "What kind of adventure?" "First, we're going kayaking. Then we'll hike to that overlook I told you about. It's supposed to be amazing, perfect for photos." Sarah took a sip of coffee, feeling the warmth spread through her. "Sounds great. I can't wait to get out on the water." As they chatted over breakfast, Sarah couldn't shake the feeling that something unspoken loomed between them. This trip felt different, charged with a tension that crackled in the air. Was it the note? Or something that had been quietly building for years? Once they were geared up and ready, they headed down to the lake. The water sparkled under the sunlight, and she could hear the gentle lapping of waves against the shore. Jake insisted on taking the lead while they launched the kayaks, his casual confidence evident in every move he made. She admired the way he worked, his muscles flexing as he hoisted the kayak onto the water. a sunny smile lighting up his face. With a few swift strokes, they set off along the peaceful shore. The world felt incredibly vast yet intimate, the two of them navigating, the tranquil waters surrounded by majestic trees. As they paddled, Sarah couldn't help but sneak glances at Jake. The sunlight caught the angles of his jaw, highlighting features she had always found captivating. "Are you going to talk about that note?" she finally asked, breaking the silence and hoping to bring a bit of that tension to the surface. Jake chuckled, his eyes bright with amusement. "Ah, so you've been thinking about it, huh?" "More like obsessing," she shot back. Laughter spilled from her lips, easing the moment's heaviness. "You dropped a bomb, and I'm left wondering what's next." Okay. I promise I'll explain, but let's reach the other side first. Trust me, it'll be worth it." Sarah could feel her curiosity mixing with exhilaration. This was part of their playful banter, but underneath it lay something profound. As they reached a secluded area, Jake maneuvered the kayak onto the shore, and they hopped out, splashing water with every step. They left the kayaks behind and began their hike toward the overlook. The path wound through a mosaic of colors, vibrant, greens and earth tones, with sounds of chirping birds providing a natural soundtrack. The air was fragrant with pine and damp earth, and Sarah could feel her adrenaline building. "Careful. Watch your step," Jake called out, and she turned just in time to see him stumble over an exposed root, laughter spilling from both of them. "Smooth move," she teased, flashing him a grin. When they reached the viewpoint, the landscape opened, up like a painting, a breathtaking panorama of mountains and valleys stretching far beyond the horizon. They stood in awe, the world enveloping them in a warm embrace. "Wow," Sarah breathed, momentarily lost in the beauty before them. It was as if the view reflected the multitude of emotions inside them: wild, beautiful, and chaotic. Jake leaned against a nearby tree, his gaze fixed on the horizon. After a beat, he turned to her with an expression that was both serious and vulnerable. "You know, I've always thought places like this were meant for sharing. Special moments." Her heart raced as his words hung in the air. "What do you mean? Like, with people you care about, people who matter?" Sarah swallowed hard, her breath caught in her throat. The weight of what remained unsaid between them felt heavier than the crisp mountain air. Was he implying that they could be more than just friends? Suddenly, Jake pulled something from his backpack, a small box wrapped in plain brown paper. "This is for you." Her eyes widened in surprise. "For me? What is it?" "Just open it." With trembling hands, Sarah tore the wrapping away, revealing a beautifully carved wooden pendant shaped like a small compass. Her breath caught as she traced the intricate patterns with her fingers. "It's stunning, Jake," she exclaimed, glancing up to meet his gaze, which was filled with an intensity that sent shivers down her spine. "It's a compass," he said softly, "to remind you to always find your way, no matter what direction life takes you. And I hope it helps us always find our way back to each other." Sarah felt a rush of warmth surge through her. A compass. How thoughtful, yet intricately personal. The weight of the gift was profound, and she struggled to articulate her feelings. "It's beautiful. I can't believe you got this for me," she said, her voice barely above a whisper. "It means so much." Jake stepped closer, a serious look in his eyes. "Sarah, I know things have been confusing lately. The note, this gift, it all feels like a lot, but I just need you to know that I want us to figure this out together. No pressure, but..." His voice trailed off, leaving an open invitation that felt laden with possibilities. Sarah's heart raced as she processed his words, her mind striving to grasp the enormity of the moment. As if sensing her hesitation, Jake continued, "I just want us to explore whatever this is, if you're okay with it." His eyes searched hers, reflecting a mixture of hope and vulnerability. "I've never felt this way about anyone else before." The sincerity in his voice pierced through her uncertainty, and Sarah felt an overwhelming wave wash over her. The truth was, she had been feeling this way too, but the thought of taking that leap terrified her. What could blossoming feelings mean for their lives, for their family. As silence enveloped them, she could feel the tension crackling in the air, an electric pulse that begged to be acknowledged. Just as she opened her mouth to respond, a loud rustling in the bushes nearby interrupted them. They both turned sharply, and a deer sprang out from the underbrush, startling them. It paused momentarily before darting off into the trees, and they shared relieved laughter, the tension momentarily broken. "That was unexpected," Sarah said, trying to deflate the charged atmosphere. But her heart raced, each thud a reminder of the unresolved feelings swirling between them. "Let's head back," Jake suggested, trying to regain the lightheartedness that marked their friendship. As they retraced their steps down the path, Sarah couldn't shake the feeling that everything had shifted. The gift felt like a turning point, an anchor in the tumult of emotions roiling inside her. What would their relationship look like if they chose to explore these new boundaries? Would they risk their friendship for the possibility of something more, or would they preserve the status quo? Once back at the cabin, the air was thick with unspoken words. Jake set the pendant on the table and Sarah sat down, her mind racing with possibilities yet haunted by fears. "Sarah," he began, his voice low, "I didn't mean to bombard you with all of this. I just want you to know how much you mean to me." She met his gaze, and in that moment her heart swelled with emotions yet again. "I care about you too. But I'm scared," she admitted, her voice trembling slightly. "What? If exploring this changes everything and we ruin what we have?" Jake glanced down for a moment, reflecting. "And what if it deepens our connection? What if it's the beginning of something amazing?" His words hung in the space between them, an open question, promising adventure, filled with both risk and reward. The uncharted territory they were standing on was daunting, but there was something undeniably thrilling about it as well. As the sun dipped below the horizon, casting an ethereal glow upon the world outside, Sarah knew that whatever decision they made would shape the course of their shared journey. In that moment, she couldn't help but hope that there was magic waiting for them on the other side. And perhaps, just perhaps, this journey might be more than either of them had ever planned. Shadows of the past. The sun rose gently over the lake, casting a golden hue across the water. Sarah stirred awake, the warmth of the morning light wrapping around her like a soft blanket. Yet, despite the serenity of the moment, a storm brewed inside her. The events of the previous day replayed in her mind Jake's heartfelt gift, his promise, and the gravity of their unspoken connection. What does it all mean? Hoping that fresh air might clarify her thoughts, she slipped out of bed and quietly made her way outside. The cool morning breeze ruffled her hair and she inhaled deeply, grounding herself in the tranquility that surrounded her. As she strolled along the shoreline, the rhythmic sound of the waves lapping against the shore was oddly calming, but her mind was tumultuous, a whirlwind of emotions and unanswered questions. In the distance, she could see Jake, silhouetted against the rising sun, casting fishing line into the water. For a moment, he seemed at peace, a sight that brought a smile to her face. "Morning," Sarah called, waving lightly as she approached. Jake turned, his face brightening at the sight of her. "Hey, early bird, want to join me?" "Is it even legal to fish before breakfast?" she joked, flashing a teasing grin. "Only if you catch the biggest fish," he responded, winking at her. As she settled beside him, a comfortable silence enveloped them, only broken by the gentle sounds of nature. Yet even as they shared small talk, Sarah could feel the tension weaving back into the fabric of their relationship. The knowing glances, the shared laughter, it all felt like a tightrope walk, precarious yet exhilarating. Eventually, Jake reeled in his line, disappointment shadowing his face. "Nothing biting this morning." "Don't worry, I think you just need a new fishing strategy," she nudged him playfully, trying to lighten the mood. But even amidst the jokes, the weight of the note and gift loomed large. "Want to hear a silly story from our childhood?" Jake suddenly asked, breaking her train of thought. Her interest piqued. "Absolutely. Go for it." "Well," he started, a teasing glint in his eye. "Remember the time we thought we could build a treehouse in that old oak in the backyard?" She couldn't help but laugh. We almost fell out of that tree. Exactly, he chuckled. And you were the one trying to impress that kid down the street while I was just trying to keep us alive? They both doubled over in laughter, but as the echoes of their joy receded, an uncomfortable silence crept between them once again. Sarah felt the weight of Jake's earlier words hang thick in the air. Jake, she ventured cautiously, what do you really want from this? His expression shifted, seriousness returning to his features. I want to know if we're on the same page. I care about you, Sarah. I think this could be more than just friendship. The unspoken depth of his words electrified the air between them. Sarah's heart raced as she absorbed their implications. But what if we mess everything up? Jake's eyes narrowed slightly. And what if we don't and find something incredible? We've always had something special. Why can't we explore that? The intensity in his gaze made her heart hitch in her throat. Just as she opened her mouth to respond, a rustling sound nearby startled them both. Out of the bushes came a group of hikers, chattering and ready for their own adventures. The interruption felt like a jolt, scattering the delicate atmosphere they had been cultivating. Guess we're not alone anymore, Jake quipped, redirecting the energy between them. Really throws a wrench in our deep conversation, she shot back with a grin, but inside she felt a fleeting moment of relief mixed with irritation. As the group passed, their boisterous laughter and camaraderie reminded Sarah of the carefree days of childhood. It also underscored the complexity of her own feelings. Adulthood hadn't silenced the joys of those simpler moments, but it had layered them with expectations and fears. With a sense of purpose, she turned to Jake, struggling to form a cohesive thought. Let's go for a hike today, away from distractions. Sounds like a plan, he agreed, a spark igniting in his eyes. After breakfast, they donned their backpacks and set off into the woods, their laughter mingling with the chirping birds. The trail wound through towering trees, sunlight filtering through the leaves and dappling the ground beneath their feet. The scenery was lush and vibrant, alive in a way that mirrored their growing connection. During their hike, they talked about everything and nothing, favorite movies, dreams for the future, and shared childhood memories. Yet Sarah couldn't shake the underlying sense of anticipation. Each step felt charged with unexpressed emotions. Hours passed as they navigated through the winding trails, but just as they began to feel a sense of ease, Sarah spotted something unusual off the path, a dilapidated old cabin shrouded by overgrown foliage. Hey Jake, check that out, she pointed, intrigue lighting her features. Creepy or cool? He asked, an eyebrow raised. Definitely cool. Let's explore. They approached cautiously, the structure emerging like a secret tucked away in time. The wooden walls were weathered, the roof sagging, yet there was an inviting aura about it. They peered through the cracked window, but the interior was too dark to discern much. Think we can get inside? Jake asked. Only one way to find out, Sarah replied with a burst of excitement. As they pushed open the creaky door, it groaned in protest, revealing a dusty interior adorned with remnants of a forgotten past. Inside, sunlight streamed through the broken windows, illuminating faded photographs and furniture cloaked in dust. A wave of nostalgia washed over Sarah as she wandered through the small rooms, each corner whispering secrets of lives once lived. Can you imagine the stories this place has? Jake remarked, scanning the room with awe. As they explored, Sarah stumbled upon a small trunk tucked away in a corner. Curiosity piqued, she knelt and opened it to reveal a collection of journals, their pages yellowed and worn. Look at these, she called, excitement bubbling inside her. They're filled with someone's thoughts and dreams. Jake joined her, his expression shifting to one of fascination as they flipped through the delicate pages. The entries spoke of youthful ambitions, heartaches, and moments of joy, echoes of their own lives. Wow, these are incredibly personal, Jake stated quietly, his tone serious. I wonder what happened to the owner. Maybe they found their way, Sarah suggested, her heart pounding at the weight of the words. Or maybe they lost it. As they continued to read, a deep connection formed, a kindred understanding of the fragile nature of dreams and relationships. The camaraderie they shared in this moment felt like a tether binding them closer together, the specter of the previous night's conversation lingering in the air. Suddenly, one entry in particular caught Sarah's eye. It described a moment of revelation, a decision to embrace uncertainty despite fear. "I have to be brave and take risks to find what's right for me," it read. She found herself reflecting on her own choices, the risks she needed to embrace regarding her evolving feelings for Jake. As they shared thoughts about the journal and its contents, the atmosphere around them grew heavy with unvoiced emotion. As Jake turned to face her, the intensity returned to his gaze. What if we allow ourselves to take risks too? What if we don't let fear dictate our choices? Her heart raced at the challenge hidden within his words. But their moment was interrupted again. The cabin's door swung shut behind them with a forceful bang, startling them both. "What was that?" Jake asked, his eyes wide as he stepped toward the exit. "Probably just the wind," Sarah replied, but a piece of her felt tense, something primal telling her that they weren't alone. The air grew thick with uncertainty as they exchanged concerned glances, each feeling a shiver of apprehension. "Let's get out of here," Jake suggested, and Sarah nodded, her instincts flaring. As they stepped out of the cabin, they were greeted by an unsettling silence. The vibrant sounds of nature had faded, as if the world held its breath. The previously inviting atmosphere morphed into something foreboding, a sensation that prickled along Sarah's skin. "It feels different now," she whispered, uneasy. "Yeah, like we're being watched," Jake replied, glancing over his shoulder. Suddenly, a branch snapped in the distance and her heart raced. Jake took her hand, urgency flickering in his eyes. "We need to go. Now." They sprinted down the path, adrenaline surging through their veins as they maneuvered through the trees. The forest that had once felt so vibrant now loomed ominously around them, shadows stretching as if reaching for them. As they neared the main trail, they heard footsteps behind them, quick and relentless. Panic bubbled to the surface, and Sarah's breath came in sharp gasps. "Faster!" Jake urged, his grip tightening on her hand. Finally, they reached the main path, the wide expanse offering a moment of comfort. They turned to catch their breath, the stillness around them amplifying their racing hearts. The footsteps had ceased, but the unsettling feeling remained, as if they had evaded something that lingered just out of sight. "Did you see anything?" Sarah asked, still panting. "No, but something felt off back there. I couldn't shake the feeling that we weren't alone." The haunting thought loomed large between them, but surprisingly, it only intensified the connection they felt. Experiencing something so unsettling together had forged another layer to their bond. "We should head back to the cabin," Sarah suggested, feeling the desire for safety settle over them. "Agreed. Let's stay close to each other," Jake replied, their hands still intertwined. As they made their way back, Sarah couldn't shake the sense of growing exhilaration. One part of her was terrified, the other oddly invigorated, a spark ignited from facing danger together, and it echoed the risk Jake had suggested earlier. Upon arriving back at the cabin, they locked the door, securing themselves inside with frantic energy. The outside world seemed so distant now, the walls far more comforting. "Okay, let's lay low for a bit," Jake said, looking out the window, scanning the trees that now felt ominous. For a brief moment, silence enveloped them, the adrenaline slowly ebbing away. Sarah felt her heart settle as she turned to Jake, a mix of determination and vulnerability swimming in her gaze. "We can't ignore what happened today, can we?" "No, we can't," Jake replied, his voice steady. "I think it showed us how unpredictable life can be, but we have to face it together." With a shared understanding, Sarah realized that confrontations, even frightening ones, might be necessary to strengthen their bond. As they sat together, the weight of their evolving relationship became apparent, a journey marked by both fears and exhilarating possibilities. And deep down, she knew they were on the precipice of something life-changing. The shadows of both their past and the haunting experience of the cabin now danced together, urging them forward. They had encountered uncertainty, but the beauty of the unknown beckoned them, just beyond the horizon. A moment of truth. The interior of the cabin felt cozy, yet a stark sense of urgency hung in the air. Sarah and Jake sat side by side on the worn couch, their fingers intertwined, hearts racing from the thrill of their recent encounter. The quiet felt oppressive, the trees outside casting long shadows across the floor as the sun began to set. Jake broke the tense silence, his voice steady despite the unease that still lingered. "We need to talk about what happened today. That wasn't just a fluke." Sarah nodded, taking a deep breath. "You're right. The feeling I had out there was unsettling, like someone was watching us. But in a way, it pushed me to confront what we've been avoiding." Jake looked at her intently, and worry creased his brow. "Are you really ready to face that? To explore what we might mean to each other?" The ambiance shifted, charged with anticipation and an underlying tension they both could feel. Every glance and every heartbeat seemed to propel them closer to a tipping point. "I guess I am," Sarah replied slowly, her voice shaky, yet determined. "But it's terrifying to think about the potential consequences. What if we end up hurting each other? Or what if we find something amazing?" Jake countered, his tone earnest. "We've always had something special, haven't we? Maybe it's time we stop running from it." Her heart raced at his words. Was she willing to take that leap? The weight of their history pressed upon her, years of laughter, support, and friendship, all of which had now morphed into something more complex. "But what does that look like for us? I'm scared," she confessed, feeling vulnerable as she laid her fears bare. Jake shifted closer, their bodies almost touching, his gaze unwavering. "We'll figure it out together. The only way we can truly know what this is to take that step." Sarah felt a jolt of electricity course through her. There was an undeniable pull between them, a magnetic force that had been growing stronger over the years. What if taking a chance could lead to something beautiful? Just then, the air seemed to shift. A gust of wind rustled through the trees outside, making the cabin creak ominously. A sense of foreboding washed over Sarah. The surreal beauty of their moment was entwined with the haunting atmosphere that still loomed around them. "I just wish we could make this decision without the shadows of today hanging over us," she said, looking toward the window. "It feels like we're not alone in this." Jake tightened his grip on her hand. "Maybe that fear is what we're meant to face. Perhaps it's part of our journey." With the weight of his words clouding her mind, Sarah felt a new resolve emerge within her. "Okay, let's explore this, whatever this is between us." Jake's eyes brightened as he leaned slightly closer. "Really? You mean it?" "Yeah, I do. But we need to promise each other that we won't let fear dictate our choices." "Deal." As she met his gaze, the world around them faded, the noise, the uncertainty, everything seemed to vanish except for this moment they were creating. The intimacy of being so close felt both electrifying and daunting. Just as she thought they might finally bridge that gap, a sudden pounding on the door jolted them both, shattering the fragile atmosphere. "What was that?" Sarah gasped, instinctively drawing back. Jake's face paled slightly, and he glanced toward the door. "Stay here. I'll check it out." "No, don't. Maybe it's just the wind." Or, before she could finish her thought, Jake stood up, determination etched on his face. "I'll be right back. Just don't panic, okay?" With a mix of fear and concern, Sarah watched him approach the door. As he opened it, the sudden gust of wind gusted inside, sending a chill down her spine. Jake peered outside, but the fading light cloaked everything in shadow. "Jake?" she called, gripping the couch tightly, her heart racing. "Nothing's there," he said, glancing back at her. But the unease in his voice made her skin crawl. "Just stay cautious." He stepped outside, leaving her alone in the cabin, the silence almost deafening. Her pulse quickened as she strained to hear any sounds beyond the door. The shadows outside loomed larger, and an instinctual dread settled in the pit of her stomach. She sensed movement near the window and turned to see a dark figure slipping between the trees. Panic clawed at her throat and she stood up, her heart pounding. "Jake!" she whispered urgently, but the words escaped her lips like a strangled cry. Just then, she heard Jake's voice outside, a mixture of confusion and urgency. "Sarah, come out here!" She hesitated, debating whether to trust whatever was lurking just outside. But something in Jake's tone urged her forward. Limited light cast eerie shapes, dancing at the corners of her vision as she crept toward the door, her breath shallow. "Jake?" she called out, stepping outside. As she emerged into the dim light, she spotted Jake standing near the edge of the trees, his expression a mix of astonishment and concern. "What's going on?" she demanded. "What did you see?" "I thought I saw something move, over there." He pointed toward the thicket, his eyes narrowing as he strained to see through the growing darkness. Fear tightened her chest, and without thinking, she stepped closer to him, seeking comfort in his presence. "Let's just go back inside, Jake." "I don't like this." But before they could retreat, a rustling noise broke through the stillness. Jake tensed, preparing to confront whatever was hidden in the shadows, and that instinct twisted Sarah's stomach into knots. "Show yourself," he called out, his voice echoing through the trees. Silence followed, heavy and oppressive. Sarah could barely breathe, her eyes scanning the darkness, searching for any sign of movement. But then, a glimmer of light flickered from the thicket, like a firefly in the night. "Jake, what is that?" she whispered, her voice trembling. "It's too bright for a firefly," he muttered, stepping cautiously toward it. Their hearts raced as they slowly approached, curiosity mingling with trepidation. As they drew near, the light pulsed, illuminating the surrounding darkness. Suddenly, a figure stumbled into view, appearing out of the woods. Sarah gasped, stepping back as a stranger emerged, a disheveled man, wild-eyed and wearing ragged clothes, with an overwhelming sense of urgency in his movements. "Help! Please! You have to help me!" he shouted, desperation lacing his words. Jake instinctively moved closer to Sarah, tension radiating from his body. "What happened? Who are you?" "They're coming for me! I need to hide!" the man exclaimed, glancing back at the trees as if something ominous lurked just out of sight. "Who?" Jake pressed, his eyes darting around as he tried to gauge the man's intentions. "The Forest Watchers," the man responded, practically shaking with fear. "They know what I saw, and they won't let me escape." Sarah's heart raced, the weight of confusion and dread mixing within her. "What did you see?" "I can't say it here." "Please, you have to help me," he insisted, glancing nervously into the shadows once more. Jake exchanged a worried look with Sarah. She could see the hesitation on his face, the fight-or-flight instinct raging within him. "We can't let him in the cabin, Sarah!" Just then, an eerie howling echoed through the woods, sending chills down her spine. Shadows danced at the edge of the trees, deepening the sense of foreboding that hung between them. "Please!" the man cried out again, wild-eyed. "There's no time. They'll be here any moment." Without thinking, Sarah felt an overwhelming sense of empathy for the stranger. "Wait, we have to at least hear him out. We can't leave him out here." Jake glanced at her sharply, but the determination in her eyes was firm. He sighed, frustration and concern battling within him. "Fine, but we stay alert." "Thank you!" the man exclaimed, relief flooding his face as he stepped closer. "You don't know what you're doing by letting me in. They'll come for us all." With the weight of their decision heavy upon them, they led the man back into the cabin. As the door clicked shut behind them, they locked it, each step feeling more precarious than the last. The dim light inside illuminated their faces, revealing the tension etched into each feature. Sarah's heart raced as they faced the man, uncertain of who he was and what he meant for their future. "Now, tell us everything," Jake urged, his voice lower but firm. The man stared at them, his eyes wide with fear. "I saw things no one should see. Secrets hidden in the depths of these woods." "What kind of secrets?" Sarah asked, her curiosity piquing despite the underlying fear. "They've been watching for years. They know the legends, the truths that lie beneath this land. I stumbled onto something I shouldn't have, and now they're coming for me, and anyone who helps me will be in danger too." Another howl echoed through the night, chilling Sarah to her bones. The man's frantic expression only heightened her concern. Whatever was outside, whatever shadows haunted these woods, felt all too real at that moment. "Are you saying there's some kind of danger out there, like a cult or something?" Jake pressed, clearly skeptical yet intrigued. "Not a cult. It's larger than that. It's been kept hidden for decades, and they're so good at staying in the shadows. But if you help me, we might be able to stop them," the man said, desperation leaking from his voice. "Stop who?" Sarah demanded, her heart racing at the surreal situation. "The Forest Watchers," he said again, frustration coloring his tone. "They guard secrets that shouldn't be kept, and they'll do anything to protect their way of life. But I found a way to break their hold." Her instincts screamed for them to take caution, yet the thrill of the unknown pulsed within her. "And what can we do?" "Tonight, when the moon is highest," he began, his voice lowering conspiratorially. "There's a cave at the edge of the lake. That's where they gather. If we can get there first, we might uncover their truths." Jake interjected, skepticism creeping back in. "And if they catch us? What happens then?" "They'll do much worse than scare us away. But if we stay united, we might just stand a chance," the man urged, desperation in his eyes. "We can't just sit here waiting for them to come to us," Sarah said, feeling a surge of bravery. "Let's go. If this is our chance to uncover the truth and protect ourselves, we need to take it." Jake hesitated, torn between his loyalty to Sarah and the instinctive urge to run. "Are you sure? This could be a trap. Or it could be our way to fight back," Sarah replied firmly, meeting his gaze with fierce resolve. Jake took a deep breath, determination settling onto his shoulders as he glanced at the stranger. "Fine, but if we're going to do this, we stick together." Nods of agreement passed between them, a shared understanding solidifying their resolve. As the howls echoed in the distance, they gathered their things, adrenaline coursing through their veins. It was time to confront the lurking darkness together. With one last glance around the cabin, they stepped outside, bracing themselves to face whatever awaited them in the night. The shadows seemed to draw back as they ventured forward, uncertain of the danger that lay ahead, but fueled by the promise of unveiling secrets and courage they had yet to discover. As they hiked toward the edge of the lake, the stars above gleamed brightly, casting an otherworldly glow on the path before them. The night was alive with anticipation, but Sarah could feel the weight of fear and excitement swirling around them, guiding them closer to their fate. Together, they were stepping into the unknown, ready to uncover the truths that had remained hidden for far too long. Whatever awaited them, they would face it head-on, because now they had each other and a fire that burned brighter than the shadows surrounding them. And deep down, they all understood some secrets were worth risking everything for.